Yesterday evening, the British government finally gave its okay at a cabinet-level meeting to attack the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Airstrikes began within hours. The United States government saying 60 targets were hit within Yemen. The Houthis are saying about 70 targets were apparently hit. The United States saying approximately 100 missiles deployed against targets such as command and control nodes, munitions dumps, launching and production pads for missiles, production facilities for missiles, and air defense radars. There is confirmation that U.S. Growlers were in the air, suppressing air defense radar systems, which indicate that there were active radar systems that were trying to target U.S. planes as well as U.K. planes. Reports are that Saudi Arabia did give permission for the United States to use its airspace, and that has a whole bunch of people in the Middle East up in a tizzy. Oman has denounced the U.S. attack on Yemen, which is kind of rich considering Oman has been part of the bombing campaign on Yemen for a good number of years. Saudi Arabia also, at the same time, giving its airspace, but then also criticizing the United States, saying that they should be careful and measured in their response. This, of course, after the Houthis have been firing missiles after missiles and drones at ships going by, cargo ships particularly, and recently, supposedly, they have been directly targeting U.S. warships. Now, some people are asking the question, does President Biden have the authority to go and start attacking another nation? And with the 2001 force authorization, the United States president is allowed to respond to countries that have attacked U.S. troops and U.S. warships, and that's why it becomes so important that the missiles recently were actually targeting U.S. warships. Now, the United States has been on board with attacking Yemen with a bombing campaign for quite a while, but up till now they've basically been alone. No one wanted to join the United States in that, and therefore it would look like just the United States going after somebody. So they needed at least another country to be on board with this, and so the UK dragging its heels for days and days and days, even weeks, until they finally gave authorization last night, and that kind of gave the green light to the United States, apparently, to conduct this attack. Now, like I've said, Saudi Arabia and its coalition allies have been bombing Yemen for 8 years. The United States have been pushing for them to come to a peace treaty, come to a peace terms, and they finally did. And then the Houthis trying to protect the Gaza people, declared war on Israel. Well, now it has become a little more sticky because Yemen has now declared war on the UK and the United States, saying that all United States and UK assets and interests around the world are now legitimate targets of war. We also have the United States issuing a warning for all ships to stay out of the Red Sea. They've declared the entire zone to be a war zone, an active war zone, and have closed basically all shipping going through the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Now, is this a well thought out plan? It doesn't appear to be. It seems reactionary. And one of the things that we see is that the U.S. Defense Department is in complete disarray. That we saw last week that the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, went missing for 4 days, and the White House didn't even notice he was gone, which is kind of troubling if you think about it. The Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, decided to take over, but she was running things from the beach, apparently, because she didn't cancel her vacation. She just kind of went on her vacation anyway and was literally on the beach taking calls and trying to run the Defense Department as we were ramping up for major airstrikes on another country. We have our Secretary of Defense disappears and nobody seems to notice that. The White House finally noticed when they were told. They didn't go out and ask, gee, where's the Secretary of Defense? Nope, didn't happen. The Secretary of Defense staff finally reached out to one of the White House staffers and told him what was happening, and they passed that along to President Biden. But if they hadn't done that, how many more days would have gone by without there being any contact with the Secretary of Defense? This shows that there clearly weren't consultations happening between the President and the Secretary of Defense about whether there should be airstrikes and what targets should be attacked, but rather this seems to be very off the cuff and very responsive, like, oh, we finally got permission to go attack the Houthis so we can look strong. Let's go bomb a bunch of things in Houthi land. And that's what happened. And we're seeing the Houthis are saying that 5 people were killed. Now, when you launch over $100 million worth of weaponry at a country and you only kill 5 people, I'm not sure exactly how you would call that a success. If you're sending a strong message and you spend over $100 million, we're talking about, tens of billions of dollars worth of military assets hovering in the region, and we go in there and we break some of their concrete block buildings where they're building rockets. We attacked a few of their radar installations, and we attacked their command nodes. They can't just run some more wires or something like that, apparently. This is just endemic of the United States. This is just a picture of how the United States is conducting war these days. We are using such sophisticated weaponry, such expensive weaponry, and while the Houthis came out relatively early and said they shot down an F-22, which a lot of people kind of came out relatively quickly and said that doesn't make sense. And indeed, it doesn't make sense. Why would you use an F-22, which is not carrier capable? Why would you use a fighter jet? Now, there are different kinds of jets. The F-35 is a multi-role bomber/fighter jet, but the F-22 is basically just an air-to-air fighter jet. And the Houthis don't have anything that can fly at all, really, except their missiles. And so why would you do a bombing campaign with fighter jets? Now, the F-18 Growlers are important, of course, because they have electronic warfare capabilities that they can suppress enemy radars. And so they went up, of course, to protect the bombers that were going in and the missiles that were going in to make sure that they weren't shot down. But the Houthis seem to be egging for this all along. They're playing this diplomatic game, not a military game. And that's what I think a lot of people aren't understanding, and apparently this administration is not getting it. They declared legitimate, in their minds, war against Israel. Now, I'm not saying that's legitimate that they did that. I'm just saying they are at least following the international protocols of this, that they declared war on Israel. They said, we have something against Israel, and we're declaring war against them. We're going to attack Israel's interests. And so then they claimed at least the cargo ships that they were targeting were ships that were bound for Israel, which didn't make any sense because some of the ships were headed in the opposite direction. But the world kind of went along with that, they're trying to attack ships that are going to Israel. They were not supposedly attacking U.S. and other countries' ships, supposedly, but they kind of were. But they were basically trying to egg the United States into a, quote, unprovoked attack on themselves so they could then declare war on the United States and be seen as kind of like the, not the aggressors, that the United States would be seen as the aggressors. And the United States kind of realized this with Operation Prosperity Guardian, the idea that we need to have a coalition so it doesn't look like the United States is just beating up on a country for Israel. That the puppet United States is attacking a country that is attacking Israel. And yet that's exactly what it looks like now, because the United States with the UK, that's not a very broad coalition. Look like they've just been egged into attacking the Houthis. And now, at least, because the United States, it's never going to be like, oh, well, the poor Houthis. But you got to realize that the people that are watching this, the global south, countries like Brazil, countries like South Africa, countries across the Middle East, they're already kind of anti-Israel, and all they need is just some thin veneer of why the Houthis are actually kind of in the right, so that they'll come and agree with the Houthis. They'll help the Houthis because they think that the United States is just provoking war and it's just acting as Israel's stooge. So we have this setup. It was a setup, and the Biden administration went for it, not thinking things through. Was he sitting down with his Secretary of Defense? No, because his Secretary of Defense disappeared and he didn't even notice. The Deputy Secretary of Defense running things from the beach in her bathing suit, kind of like, yeah, let's talk about places to bomb. And is it any wonder that Spain, Italy, France, Australia all pulled out of this coalition? Because they were concerned that the United States was going to endanger their crews of their ships. They're like, we don't want to have anything to do with this because this is just the United States being reckless once again. They're going to put our ships into harm's way without proper protection. They don't actually know what the heck they're doing. Isn't that a resounding slap in the face? Spain, Italy, France, Australia, saying that the United States doesn't know what it's doing and its command and control are going to endanger U.S. sailors, and if they were to give us their ships, endanger their sailors. And this is what I've been saying for a while. You may not know all the facts on the ground over there, or on the sea over there, and I may not know all the facts on the sea over there, but when you have sovereign countries that seem to be okay putting their ships in harm's way, France and Australia have ships in that vicinity, but not under U.S. command. France has been actually running escort services for ships going through the strait, but not under U.S. command because they are afraid that U.S. command will endanger their sailors. They're not afraid of being in the area. They're afraid of being under U.S. commanders. U.S. commanders that disappear for a week at a time and nobody knows where they went. Other U.S. commanders who will operate the U.S. military from the beach on a cell phone. This is the type of stuff, this amateur hour. Weren't we told back in the day that the adults were going to be back in charge? And yet this doesn't seem to be. We have the very first female Deputy Director, Secretary of Defense, and it looks a whole heck of a lot like she was a diversity hire. You know, the first. And then we see the director, the Secretary of Defense. He was also the first in history, and everyone was celebrating the fact that he, you know, because of his skin color, not because of his accolades for his ability to run things, but rather because of his skin color. Now, he does have military experience, unlike the Deputy Secretary of Defense, but we're seeing just coming out of all this, the amateur hour that is the U.S. White House right now. Absolutely devastating. And now the United States, Yemen has declared war on the United States and the UK. And they are promising, let's see here, saying the American and British enemy bears full responsibility for its criminal aggression against the Yemeni people, and it will not go unanswered and unpunished. That is Brigadier General Yahya Saree. That's the word out there. They now feel like they have gotten the moral high ground to launch terror attacks against the United States, whether here inside our country, and would it have been hard for them to sneak agents into our country? No, it really wouldn't be, would it? It's very easy for them to get agents into our country. And we are open to be attacked by anyone who has the will to attack us. If I were you, I would be concerned about being out in public places. Be aware of your surroundings, because while it won't happen immediately, it probably will take maybe several days, maybe a week, for them to actually get word to their agents and to authorize the attacks that have been planned, because those type of attacks do take time to plan. We may be seeing terror attacks inside the United States, inside the UK, in the next several weeks. We may be seeing attacks on U.S. shipping. We may be seeing, we're already seeing more intense attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq as well as in Syria. And that is probably to escalate as well. But the Yemenis have shown that they have not really been trying to target military assets as much as they've been trying to attack civilian targets. And I think that that is something we should be wary of. When that happens, there's going to be a lot of countries out there that are going to see that Yemen maybe has some moral standing for what they're doing. The United States has just launched attacks on Yemen, and if Yemen launches attacks on the United States, these other countries may see them as somewhat justified. To block a UN Security Council vote, they just need one country to step up and agree with them. They just need Russia or China to step up and agree with them and block a vote of condemnation against them. This is one big political play. Iran is moving its pieces strategically on the chessboard, and we have our administration playing checkers, apparently. And that's the best analogy that I can think of right now. But if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's another video up here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.